Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to another reading lesson. Today we're going to continue with non-fiction, and our article from the Weekly Junior continues off from yesterday. So I'd like you to pause the video and think about, do you remember what yesterday's article was about? Well done if you said it was about Marcus Rashford trying to tackle food poverty, again using a pun within the headline of the news article because he obviously plays football, so that is a skill that they need to learn, which is tackling. So well done if you spotted that too. So today's news article is actually going to follow on from yesterday's, but before we begin reading together, what I'd like to do is give two special shout outs. And firstly, one of those is to Rebecca in Oxford class, and that is because Rebecca has typed up all her responses and she's marked through the responses. She's even put, I'm not 100% sure, but the word could be inspired, and then she's gone in and marked it once she's heard my answer and mark those correctly. She's also noticed here that I've made a mistake, and she said it really nicely. She said, "Miss, you made a mistake. It was false, not true." So thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for spotting that and also self-correcting me there as well, so thank you. I'd also like to give another special shout out to Leo, who's written out his responses and he's marked through all his questions. He's made sure he's watched right till the end of the video and completed every single question. So please make sure you are doing that so you can get your special shout out too. So I'm just going to share my screen and you should be able to see my visualizer. And this is where we're going to read through the text together. So today's article is from the Weekly Junior as well, and it's about Rashford scores school meal. So again, another pun has been used here. Score suggesting that he's scored a goal because obviously he plays football, but here it's he's scored a school meal, which means he's probably enabled the government to use those vouchers during the summer holidays. So let's find out a little bit more. So remember when I had asked you to pause the video and ask you to continue reading, you must also take ownership of the reading, thinking about your fluency whilst you read. Elsewhere in the UK, similar schemes for free school meals were set up by governments of Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales when schools closed in March because of coronavirus. Scotland and Wales will continue this scheme over the summer holidays. At the time the Weekly Junior went to press, the government of Northern Ireland said it will continue the scheme if there was enough money to pay for it. So that's outside the UK, thinking about what other places are doing. So we're going to continue on now. The government has said it will provide free vouchers over the summer holidays to children in England who rely on free school meals. It made the decision after a campaign by Manchester United and England footballer Marcus Rashford, who wrote a letter about the issue to members of Parliament. So the means of communication here from Marcus Rashford, he wrote a letter to members of Parliament. So subheadings have been used throughout, so in order to split the text and allow the information to be clear under each subheading. So let's continue. So we're going to continue under what is the voucher scheme? At schools across the UK, students from poorer backgrounds whose families might not be able to afford to buy enough food can receive a free lunch at school. In March, the government announced that every child in England who receives a free school meal would get a voucher worth £15 a week to cover the cost of food while schools were closed because of the coronavirus outbreak. The scheme continued during the Easter holidays and half-term. However, the scheme was not scheduled to run during the summer holidays. What did Rashford do? So I would like you now to continue from what did Rashford do right to the end. So you're just going to read that subheading. So pause the video and continue reading. Well done, Year 6. You all sounded like fluent readers, really picking up on that punctuation. If there's a full stop, please make sure you don't read through the full stop and actually stop there, take a breath and then continue your next sentence. This will allow fluency within your reading. So I'm going to continue now. How many children does this affect? Around 1.3 million children in England depend on free school meals. A report by the charity The Food Foundation found more than 200,000 children in the UK have skipped a meal during lockdown because their family couldn't afford enough food. In his latest, I believe I should say, in his letter actually, because obviously it's cut off. In his letter, Rashford pointed out that this is enough children to fill Wembley Stadium in London more than twice. From 2018 to 2019, 9 out of 30 children in any given classroom were living in poverty in the UK. What was the response? After Rashford published his letter, MPs from the main political parties, as well as members of the public, said that the government should change its mind and continue the voucher scheme into the summer. On 16th June, the government announced that it would give children who rely on free school meals a 6-week voucher to buy food over the holidays. In response, Rashford tweeted, "I don't know what to say. I just look at what we can do. Just look at what we can do when we come together. This is England 2020. Wow. During the lockdown, Rashford has helped raise more than 20 million for the charity FareShare, which provides meals to people in need. Now, I would like you to continue reading, but you are going to read now the word of the week. So I'd like you to pause the video and read the word of the week. Well done, Year 6. I'm loving all the expression and tone in your voice whilst you're all reading aloud. It's great to read aloud, and we need to be confident readers when we read aloud. So, my turn. The week in history, 26th June 2006. UK votes to leave the European Union. On the 23rd of June 2016, a majority of voters in the UK voted to leave the European Union, EU, which is an organisation of countries in Europe that work together on trade and peace and follow the same rules. Around 33.5 million people took part in the vote and 51.9% voted to leave. This started the process of the UK leaving the EU, which is known as Brexit. The UK officially left the EU on the 31st of January 2020. The UK joined the EU, then known as the European Economic Community, in 1973. So maybe what you could do is challenge yourself, work out how long the UK were in the European Union from. So think about what you need to do. I will give it away and say you need to do a subtraction, but think about what two numbers you need to use. Okay, so well done for reading through the text with me. We're now going to go and answer some questions together. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and then show you my questions. Remember, Miss Ahad's questions are in black. Those are my questions I'm going to model to you, and the questions in green are for you to pause the video and have a go. Firstly, I'm going to model this question, which is how has the author made the headline of the article eye-catching? I'm going to do this underneath the visualizer, so I'm just going to share that with you. Okay, so how has the author made the headline eye-catching? So firstly, we know that the headline is Rashford scores school meal. So firstly, we can already just see the font from the rest of the text. It's much larger. It's also bold letters that have been used in the headline. And also I can see a pun has been used. Rashford scores school meal. Scores a school meal. This refers to his job. He's a footballer. We know that Marcus Rashford plays for Manchester United. So initiating the school meals with his football career makes it quite eye-catching for people to read. So what I'm going to do, as you can see from my presentation, I've started with the date, underlined it with a ruler, and I've written down reading because that's the subject I'm doing right now. I'm going to write down question 1 because that's my first question. And I remember my question is, how has the author made the heading eye-catching? Well, I just need to write down the answer, not the whole question. And Miss Ahad is going to write the headline . The headline is in bold letters, bold, and I'm actually going to say bold, large letters. And a pun has been used to make the headline eye-catching. Just going to read it over just to double check I've answered the question. The headline is in bold, large letters, and a pun has been used to make the headline eye-catching. I definitely think I have answered the question there because it's asked me how has the author made the title eye-catching, and I've given 3 different features as to how the headline is eye-catching. And now I'm going to write down number 2 and then model those questions for you when we get onto that. So now you're going to have a go at writing your responses to your next 3 questions, which are, I'm just going to share that with you. So you have a true or false statement that the government are adamant, which means they do not want to. They are saying no, they will not provide food vouchers to children over the summer holidays. Number 2, find and copy the word that suggests the government had concluded to consider Rashford's plan. And number 3, why are families given a £15 voucher a week? So I'd like you to pause the video now and have a go at these 3 questions. Please only come back to the video once you have finished those 3 questions, showing the integrity. You're being honest with yourself, marking through your work. Okay, well done if you've completed all 3 questions. Please make sure you have a different colour pen to mark your work. The first one, true or false, the government are adamant, which means they are sure they do not want to. They are certain, that's what it means. They are certain they don't want to provide vouchers to children over the summer holidays. So let's have a look. Will not provide, and I'm going to look for vouchers in the text. Summer holidays could also help me within the text. So I can see that straight away here. The government has said it will provide food vouchers over the summer holidays to children in England. Okay, so this statement here is false because the government have actually said they will provide. This is why this statement is false, because it says here they will not provide. Number 2, find and copy the word. Find and copy the word that suggests the government had concluded to consider Rashford's plan. So government had concluded to consider Rashford's plan. Okay, so I'm going to look for a piece of evidence here. It made the decision after a campaign by Manchester United and England footballer Marcus Rashford, who wrote a letter about the issue to members of Parliament. The word here that suggests that the government had decided to weigh up Marcus Rashford's plan is decision, and the reason why it's decision is because they've weighed up the positives and negatives of his plan and have actually decided to go through with it. And then number 3 is why are families given a £15 voucher a week, and we can find £15 in the text, and that will help us answer that question. So £15 voucher a week, and that will be here, and it is to cover the costs of food while schools are closed because of the coronavirus outbreak. So well done if you got those questions correct. We are going to move on to the next few questions. Is why has the author used subheadings throughout the article? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so you can see my visualizer, and we're going to go through that question together. So because it's my next question, I'm going to label it number 2, and the question is why has the author used subheadings throughout? So firstly, a subheading is almost like a heading above your paragraphs, but because we have a main title here, our subheadings will basically summarize what each paragraph will be about. So the reason why the author has used subheadings is to break the paragraphs apart, so they have all sections that they will fit into. So I'm going to write down, because it's a why question, I'm going to start off with because each subheading represents a new point. Full stop. Okay, so because each subheading represents a new point, and that's summarized through using the subheading. So the subheading also summarizes the point. So you could also have written down that as well. Each subheading summarizes the point of the paragraph. Now we're going to go back to the questions, and you're going to have go at your questions in green. So you have 3 questions here. The first one is a true or false statement. Rashford decided to email MPs. Number 5 is find and copy, which is find and copy the word that suggests Rashford's letter was persuasive. And then number 6, a fact or opinion. A statement here, Marcus Rashford said without the kindness and generosity of his community, he would not be the person he is today. So I'd like you to pause the video and have a go at these 3 questions. Please make sure your presentation is neat like I have been doing, labeling every single question. Okay, number 4, true or false, Rashford decided to email MP. So we're looking at the communication method he used, and he actually wrote a letter to MP. So this is false because he wrote a letter, not emailed them. Number 5, find and copy the word that suggests Rashford's letter was persuasive. Okay, so we need to find and copy the word, not a phrase, just a single word to suggest that the letter was persuasive. Okay, so Rashford wrote a powerful letter telling them about his own personal experience. Well, from this, from number 5, as we're just finding and copying a word, the word that I would copy in here is powerful, and that it suggests to me it's being persuasive because he's spoken about his own personal experience. If you have also written down personal as making it persuasive, I would also accept the mark for that, as writing a letter with your own personal experience allows the reader to almost feel some sort of sympathy or sorry for you, and that could persuade them to make a change. And here it actually has helped because the government had decided to use free school meal vouchers throughout summer holidays as well. So you could have these 2 words for number 5. Either or is acceptable. Number 6, fact or opinion. Marcus Rashford said, without the kindness and generosity of his community, he would not be the person he is today. So this is a fact or opinion statement. Remember, this is just looking at grammar, not necessarily at the text. Here, a fact is something that we're giving time that can be measured or an amount, so it's a measurable statement. An opinion is judgment formed by somebody. Here, definitely this would be an opinion, as it's because it's from Marcus Rashford. He said, without the kindness and generosity, which are feelings, of the community, he would not be the person today. That is his own opinion, so this is an opinion. Okay, well done if you got those correct. Please make sure you go in and mark your work. If you got those incorrect, that's absolutely fine. Go in with a different colour and write in your corrections. Okay, my statement here, true or false, 10 out of 30 children were living in poverty in the UK. So let's have a look, true or false, 10 out of 30 children were living in poverty in the UK. So I'm going to also have a look for that word poverty. Let's see if I can find it in the text here. Okay, from 2018 to 2019, 9 out of 30 children in any given classroom were living in poverty in the UK. 9 out of 30, not 10 out of 30, therefore the statement here is false. Okay, number 7, 8 and 9, these are questions for you to answer. And the first one is fact or opinion, around 1.3 million children in England depend on free school meals. Number 8, what did the Food Foundation find after conducting their report? And number 9, find and copy the phrase which suggests Rashford made it clear 200,000 children have skipped a meal during lockdown because their family could not afford it. So you are going to pause the video here and, you're going to pause the video here and write out your answers for these questions. Okay, let's have a go. Number 7, fact or opinion, around 1.3 million children in England depend on free school meals. Well, this is definitely a fact because it's measurable, around 1.3 million children. We're given a figure here that's telling us this amount of children depend on these free school meals. So it's measurable and we have a figure here. Number 8, what did the Food Foundation find after conducting their report? Okay, so let's have a look. Look for the words Food Foundation. Food Foundation found more than 200,000 children in UK have skipped a meal during lockdown because their family couldn't afford enough food. That would definitely be the piece of evidence that I would write down. That is what they found after conducting their report. So more than 200,000 children in the UK have actually skipped a meal during lockdown because their family could not afford it. And number 9, find and copy the phrase which suggests, so we're looking at a phrase which suggests Rashford made it clear 200,000 children have skipped a meal during lockdown because their families could not afford it. Okay, so let's have a look. We're looking for a phrase which suggests that Rashford made it clear 200,000 children have skipped a meal during lockdown because their family could not afford it. So the Food Foundation found more than 200,000 children in the UK have skipped a meal during lockdown because their family couldn't afford enough food. In his letter, Rashford pointed out that this is enough children to fill Wembley Stadium in London more than twice. That would be the phrase that you would copy in. So he pointed out that, so Rashford pointed out that this is enough children to fill Wembley Stadium in London more than twice. That would be the evidence that you would write down, the phrase, sorry, that you would write down, because it's suggesting here that he's made it clear 200,000 children is a lot of children, and that is enough to fill the Wembley Stadium. So well done if you've copied that down as your phrase. If you haven't, please make your corrections. Remember, learning from our mistakes is how we learn rapidly. Okay, my question. Fact or opinion? Rashford thinks he wrote a powerful letter. Oh, definitely here, I would go here that is an opinion, because it is what Rashford thinks. It's coming from him. He personally thinks that he wrote a letter that's powerful. So that's an opinion from Rashford. Okay, so what I'm going to write down here, I'm just going to show you my screen. Number 3, all I have to do is write down an opinion. Okay, so that's all I need to write down. I don't need to write down a whole sentence, just simply opinion, because that is what the question is asking me. Let's go back to the questions. Okay, number 10, 11 and 12 are questions for you to answer. Number 10 is find and copy the word that suggests some families depend on free school meals. Number 11, find the piece of evidence that shows Rashford feels proud that people have worked with him to make a difference. And number 12, true or false, the government announced they would give a 3-week voucher over the summer holidays. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at those questions. Let's mark them now. Find and copy the word that suggests some families depend on free school meals. So I'm going to look in the text for free school meals and then go from there. Okay, so the government announced that it would give children who rely on free school meals a 6-week voucher to buy food over the holidays. The word depend, another synonym for depend is rely, is you're waiting on this. You need this to happen in order to get by. So in this instance, is that families need the free school meal vouchers in order for their children to eat. Number 11. Find the piece of evidence. So we're just looking for evidence, and it's the piece of evidence. So it's one piece of evidence that shows Rashford feels proud that people have worked with him to make a difference. Okay, so we're going to find the piece of evidence here. And because it's coming from Rashford, I know it has to be some sort of dialogue maybe, or something that he's said. So because it's about how Rashford feels. Okay, so I can see here in his response, Rashford tweeted, this is dialogue from Rashford himself. I don't know what to say. Just look at what we can do when we come together. This is England in 2020. So the phrase that you're going to copy in is just look at what we can do when we come together. This is 2020. That is the phrase for number 11 you need to have copied in. And number 12, true or false, the government announced they would give a 3-week voucher over the summer holidays. Well, I definitely know that this is false, because it says here the government announced it would give children who rely on free school meals a 6-week voucher to buy food over the holidays. So this is false. Well done if you're getting these correct. Please make your corrections if you need to. Okay, these are your final set of questions. This section actually doesn't have anything to do with what the article's about, so Marcus Rashford scoring school meals. It's all about some facts that we're learning. So this is interesting to read through. I'd like you to pause the video and answer these questions. These are just generic questions based on this section of the text. Well done if you've answered through the questions. Let's have a look at the answers. So why is the word virtual the word of the week this week? Okay, so the reason why the word is virtual, and we know that that's a why question, and we need to start with because. So number 13 would be because in lockdown, people are seen to be online more rather than face to face. Okay, so that is the reason why this word has been picked as the word of the week, as we have experienced a virtual world more in lockdown. If you have written something along the lines of virtue is about quality and having a positive effect on others, that would also work in this sentence. But the main reason as to why virtual has been picked as the word of the week is because we're in lockdown now, and a lot of people are spending more time online. So again, thinking about the assembly about keeping safe online. So we're doing everything virtually, just like how you're learning right now, you're learning virtually, which means online. Okay. Number 14, fact or opinion. Around 35.5 million people took part in the vote for Brexit. Well, this is, do you think it's fact or opinion? Pause the video. Okay, this is definitely a fact because we've been given a numerical figure here. It's 35.5 million people that took part in this Brexit survey here. So this is a fact. Number 15, where do people go and vote? So you really need to have a look through the text. Fantastic if you know where people go and vote without even having to look at the text. But if you don't, that's absolutely fine. It is in the text as well to help you. Well done if you said polling stations, that's where people go and place their votes. You can also do a postal vote. Some of you, your parents might be doing a postal vote because it's easier for them to do that instead of going to a polling station. But if you're going out to go and vote, it's usually at a polling station. So you'll see local places in your local area and they'll have usually this stand with a with a sign that tells you and directs you where the polling station is. So here is a sign that you would usually see, and people go to polling stations to go and vote. So well done if you got through the video. I would like you to, we're going to just turn over to my camera quickly. I would like you to read these 3 sections and put them and upload them onto Seesaw. So this, what is the voucher scheme? What did Rashford do? And how many children does this affect? You're going to read these 3 subheadings. So this one here, and this one that ends right here, and upload all 3 onto Seesaw. Think about the fluency in your voice, the intonation when you're speaking, if you're reading dialogue, so dialogue as Marcus Rashford, how you're going to sound when you're reading as him, and thinking about all the full stops and punctuations within your reading. Well done to all of you getting through right to the end of the video. Please make sure you mark all your work and submit all your answers onto Seesaw, thinking about all the presentation that I've displayed to you here, but also have shown you great pieces of work from your peers. So I will see you tomorrow in our reading lesson tomorrow, Year 6, and have a lovely afternoon.